Hello, I am Alexandra Nikolaevna, the grandmother of Kiryusha Tliavi, my grandson who was killed by the police. That day was a Friday. We just didn't take him to kindergarten. We decided to let him stay at home. I was at home. My daughter-in-law was at home after work. My daughter-in-law was at home baking a cake, and I was doing some repairs. The door was open. It was summer. He would run to me. I asked, "Oh, what smells so good?" He said, "Mom baked a cake." He went, cut a piece of cake, and brought it to me. Literally about 100 meters from the house, the children were all playing together, the four of them. My eldest grandson, Kiryusha, and two neighbor boys. All four of them were playing. One was riding a bicycle, and the other three were sitting. And then it happened. Kiryusha fell. The eldest grandson stayed with Kirill. Those two boys quickly ran over and said that Kiryusha was covered in blood. So, on one side of the organization, on the left, you could say there's a ravine, a path, and this path leads to the house. Everyone knew that a police officer lived there. They were sitting on the porch. So they decided to do some shooting. There were boxes hanging from the branches. There was a wheel standing there. And in the field to the right, there was a concrete pole, just an ordinary pole. So they say they were shooting at the pole. So the distance there, as if it was measured exactly, is 83 meters, right to the place where it happened. And there are just ordinary people living there. There was a fence, an apricot tree was growing, and the children were sitting on the grass. Just grass, and they were sitting in the shade. The oldest grandson is 11, the others were 9, and Kiryusha is 5 years old, so the four of them were playing together. It turns out that Kiryusha was the one who got hurt. This is the grass here. This is where they were sitting. There was a tree, but the fence was different. But it turns out that from the porch, it was right here. Right this way, over there. The targets were set up there and they were shooting at those targets.
Do you go to that place often?
No, we try not to go. When it happened, we put flowers there. But our neighbor Baba Galia said, "I understand everything. It's a tragedy for you, but you shouldn't do that." Well, look, I wanted to put up a small wrought iron cross. She said, "We're definitely going to replace the fence, so don't even bother, we'll remove it anyway." It's also unpleasant, you know, to always be near the fence.
Was it not immediately clear who was to blame for this?
Absolutely not. The police immediately started saying that it was the child who fell. They arrived. Well, there really was a piece of asphalt lying there. They kind of said that he hit himself. Well, even the doctors, the traumatologists, yes, no one immediately realized that it was a gunshot wound. When the neurosurgeon arrived, they took him to surgery, to the operating room. He opened up the skull. Well, he probably saw what kind of injuries were there, because right away the police and the prosecutor's office arrived. They said it was a grade 5 coma, very serious. The bullet shattered the skull completely inside and fell, sinking into the brain fluids. It's just that his body was small. He was so strong, that's why the poor thing suffered for 3 more days. I cried. I said, "I wish there had just been a little ring." Well, I wouldn't have worked. I even used to tell him fairy tales. It's very hard. We even slept on the floor beneath the intensive care unit. So it turns out it was already the morning of the 2nd. Well, they allowed me to go in on the 2nd. Well, he died on the 3rd. So all of them, well, maybe 10 people, maybe more, they came here and they all started searching the whole area. That's where they found all the shell casings. And right away, whose house is this? Where is it? Let's start looking. Pereslavl is small, and already by 3:30 in the morning, they had already been detained at the train station. They were completely drunk at the time. They were supposed to, have some kind of measures, like they were either under house arrest or in a detention center somewhere. They were brought to court, brought in from the other side, already after 6 in the evening. And my son calls and says, Kiryusha has died. So right after it happened, they were charged under Article 115, and then it was changed to Article 119, Part 1. That's involuntary manslaughter. So it turns out each of them has 3 charges. It's just that Petrovtsu Vladimir, the elder one, yes. It's like he definitely didn't shoot that day. Everyone says that he didn't even pick up a gun that day. That's how it was at first, but now everyone is facing 3 charges each. They didn't plead guilty. They say, so what if we shot? So what? Then 2.5 years passed at their last interrogation. They changed their story. We offer you our condolences. We offer you our condolences. Kind people, do I need this? Do we, our family, need your condolences after 2.5 years? And he starts saying, this is lawlessness. I'm being held illegally. I say, but what about the child, the angel? In our case, the process involves all 4. Everyone is present, all the lawyers, all the prosecutors, all the accused. Then the court day begins. If someone is sick, there is no court day. And it happened, to be honest, in the previous year, about 25 court sessions were scheduled. About 6 or 7 of them didn't take place. If you ask any lawyer, they don't know how many didn't take place. I know, I write everything down, and the judge says, as I understand it, only Alexandra Nikolaevna needs this process. No one else needs anything. And that's it. Of course I want justice, but I don't even know how it will end. It's very hard emotionally, very much so, because you can never bring the child back. And that's our kind of injustice. I don't even know how to explain it. The judge says, yes, you and the prosecutor have to prove that your child was killed. I said, where does that happen? Where does that happen? According to our laws, we have to prove it, tear our shirts off and prove to everyone that our child was killed. Those are the laws. I'm outraged. And what's the point of that? I'll just ruin my health and that's it.
Do you still somehow reach out to Kirill, maybe talk to him?
At home I try not to anymore, but of course when I go to the cemetery we talk. Yes, of course. Sometimes even my granddaughter, he maybe at first my daughter-in-law was even offended, but that's just how it comes out. Still, no matter what, still, there she is, he, it just happens sometimes.
And what is a grandmother's love?
It seems that all grandmothers, back when we were, teenagers, we didn't understand. For example, I'm speaking for myself. They always used to say, you love your grandchildren more. It seemed like, what are they talking about? How is that possible, right? I just didn't understand. This was in May with a toy gun. Why did he choose the toy gun? Even though there was a sailor, a steward, and someone else, he chose the toy gun. This was in May. Kiryushka. When they called him Kirill, he said, no, I'm not Kirill, I'm Kiryusha. Sometimes I would say something and he would say, Grandma, don't worry, I'll grow up and I'll do it, I'll buy it for you. He comes to see me for work by car. It's a nice car. We're sitting in the back and he says to the driver, yeah, you have a nice car. And the driver says, what, is it good? He says, yeah, it's good, but it's okay. I'll grow up and buy a better one. We went to the sea, right, Grandma? We packed up quickly. Well, not for long, just for 5 days, but we went. Then he had just turned 5 in February. We went to a sanatorium, stayed there. We arrived right on his birthday. He turned 5 years old. We wanted to go abroad. I got him a passport. We wanted to go to Egypt. Just the two of us. My daughter-in-law was at work. My son was at work. My older grandson was already in school. You know, he was busy. So we decided to go ourselves.
Do you believe you will be able to get justice in this case?
Well, I hope so, you could say. Maybe I shouldn't say this, but we also hope that God will help us, that there will be a fair... Because, well, if you don't have hope, then why fight? Why try to achieve this, right? Of course, I would really like for all this mess, all this stress, honestly, I just want it to be over because it's really hard. Very